So tonight's big story drills down on just that. Let's start with walking you through what happened last night, which was the fifth night in a row of massive demonstrations in Portland. Around 6 p.m. basically, that's when it started. Thousands once again turned out to protest the death of George Floyd, a black man who died last week after a white Minnesota police officer kneeled on his neck for 9 minutes while 3 others helped hold Floyd down. It was all caught on camera. Some reports say Portland last night drew more than 10,000 protesters, making it one of the biggest gatherings in the entire country. And for much of the night, that massive gathering stayed peaceful. And today, some of those protesters would say they're being heard because we learned today that the state of Minnesota is elevating charges against Derek Chauvin, the former cop who kneeled on Floyd's neck. They're being bumped up from 3rd degree to 2nd degree murder. And the state is also charging the 3 other ex-cops who helped hold Floyd down while it happened. They now face charges of aiding and abetting murder. So back in Portland, a little after 9 last night, Portland police tweeted that a small group of protesters came to the fencing that was set up around the Justice Center. And they said those protesters pushed the fence back and started throwing objects. We want to be very clear. A reporter with the Portland Mercury said that she saw protesters setting off fireworks. Our crew on the ground did not see that happening. Our photographer in Sky 8 did see people pushing back against the fencing. And we definitely saw fireworks going off. We also saw police using tear gas and flashbang type devices. Now keep in mind, this started a couple blocks from Pioneer Square where thousands of people were still having their peaceful rally. Quickly, police declared that an unlawful assembly and ordered everyone to leave downtown regardless of what you had been doing. We had 2 crews on the ground and 1 in the air watching police try to clear people out, many of whom had scattered in all different directions downtown. Now, I was anchoring coverage with Laurel Porter, and around 12:15 this morning, something happened that left us speechless. And again, we've been watching police basically follow protesters who have sort of scattered throughout the city. We can only assume this is going to continue for a while. But, oh, wow. That was the multiple police cruisers just driving through that intersection. Allison, producer, is this live? You guys know what's happening? This is live.
Yeah, looked a little close to some of those people down there.
Yeah. All right, so we'll show you that again. That is a Portland police SUV, the first of a few, barreling through that intersection where people were moving around police barricades into the street. Those people, you can see them hurrying to get out of the way. Thankfully, it doesn't look like anyone was hurt, and our reporter Mike Benner was just on the other side of the square, and he went running and confirmed that no one was injured. Now, a few hours later, early this morning, police sent a press release, and it claimed those protesters were using a, quote, bucket of what was believed to be an accelerant to light the barricades on fire. They were trying to do that. Police say those officers then drove through the intersection because they wanted to stop the fire from being started. Hours after that, that detail was missing from a press conference with Portland city officials and the chief of police. So first, you're going to hear the chief in that press conference this morning address that video and address other videos. And then second, you're going to hear a KGW photographer, Dave Angier, push her to explain exactly why police accelerated at those protesters.
I know that there are videos. I have seen some, but not all of them. And again, I want to say that if there is force used in these videos, that every use of force is investigated by the Portland Police Bureau. And if any of the actions last night were found to be out of policy, those actions will be addressed.
So a few hours ago, I reached out to police asking if there were any updates, like, do they know who was driving? Have those officers been disciplined? What, if anything, right now is happening as a result of that? Now, typically, those answers do take a while to get, but for what it's worth, Portland police are in the middle of a press conference right now, and they said what they're seeing, what people are seeing on TV and on YouTube is, in one officer's words, the worst of the worst, and that it doesn't represent the hard work that they are doing to serve and protect. But seeing as there are more protests happening tonight and almost certainly later this week, it would be nice to hear back sooner rather than later about those specific tactics, even if they are the worst of the worst, especially given that as a result of what happened in that moment, one of those people standing in that intersection could have easily been hurt or killed. So we will definitely keep pushing. And believe me, it is not just because Mayor Ted Wheeler this morning gave us permission.
I've said this before, and I'll say it again until I reach every single Portlander. Keep holding us accountable, all of us. I want to be held accountable. That is at the core of our democracy.